Tonight, we explore a realm that has mystified scholars, archaeologists, and scientists for centuries. The strange world of ancient underwater ruins science still can't explain. From sunken cities older than the pyramids to megalithic structures buried beneath the waves, these ruins whisper of civilizations lost to time, with origins that rewrite everything we thought we knew about human history. So before you get too comfortable, as always, take a moment to like the video and subscribe to the channel, only if you enjoy our content. Let us know where you're watching from and what time it is for you. Sometimes our stories are just too interesting, and we're working on some boring ones too, but not tonight. It's time now to dim the lights, turn on a fan for some gentle noise, and together, let's uncover the ancient signs that whisper across time. Off the southern coast of Japan, near the quiet island of Yonaguni, lies a discovery that continues to divide scientists, historians, and adventurers alike. It was in 1986, during a routine dive, that a local scuba instructor stumbled upon something strange, a massive structure carved into the ocean floor, resting silently beneath the waves. At first glance, the Yonaguni monument looks like a giant natural rock formation, but as you drift closer, its features become harder to ignore. Flat, layered terraces, perfectly straight edges, right-angled steps, and wide platforms that look almost like stages. Some parts rise like ziggurats, others fall into what appear to be ceremonial walkways. It doesn't feel natural. It feels designed. And that's the heart of the mystery. Supporters of the man-made theory say it's evidence of a long-lost civilization, one that thrived here over 10,000 years ago, before sea levels rose at the end of the last ice age. They point to what appear to be tool marks on the stone, pillars that seem intentionally shaped, and even a stone face weathered into the monument's edge, possibly a statue or guardian figure that watched over the structure long ago. Skeptics, however, insist it's all natural. They argue that tectonic shifts and underwater erosion shaped the sandstone over millennia, creating these uncanny formations by pure coincidence. But even they admit it's strange, too angular, too symmetrical, too deliberate. There are no definitive inscriptions, no obvious artifacts, nothing that clearly proves one side right or wrong, and so the mystery lingers, like the murky current that moves through the ruins themselves. What makes the Yonaguni monument even more haunting is how alone it feels. There's no surrounding city, no other buildings nearby, just this massive, silent stone structure, resting alone beneath the sea, whispering a story no one can fully understand. Was it once a temple, a fortress, a forgotten altar to ancient gods? Or is it proof that entire chapters of human history have been lost beneath the waves, waiting patiently for someone to listen? Whatever the truth may be, it sleeps there still, deep in the waters of Yonaguni. Off the coast of Gujarat, in western India, beneath the churning waves of the Arabian Sea, lies a city that until recently was thought to exist only in ancient myth. Its name is Dwarka. In the pages of sacred Hindu texts, Dwarka was described as a golden city ruled by Lord Krishna himself. It was said to have been a marvel of architecture, towering buildings, glowing domes, and streets lined with precious stones. The legends claimed it was swallowed by the sea after Krishna's death, as if the ocean had come to reclaim it. For centuries, scholars believed Dwarka was metaphor, not history. But in 2001, that belief was shaken. Marine archaeologists, using sonar scans, discovered the unthinkable: geometric structures on the sea floor, nearly 130 feet below the surface. Walls, streets, basins, and what seemed to be the remains of a vast ancient city grid, eerily matching descriptions from the old scriptures. Divers retrieved pottery shards, anchors, and stone blocks from the site. Some artifacts were carbon dated to around 9,000 years old, thousands of years before the Harappan civilization. If true, this discovery predates all known Indian cities and pushes back the timeline of advanced civilization in South Asia dramatically. But here's where the mystery deepens. Despite the promising evidence, mainstream historians have been hesitant, some even outright dismissive. Critics claim the formations might be natural or that the artifacts could have drifted from elsewhere. The site is hard to access, and visibility underwater is poor, clouding the research, literally and metaphorically. And yet, the layout is too intentional, structures too defined. One segment even resembles a massive gateway, perhaps an entrance to a once glorious city that now sleeps beneath the sea. What if the ancient stories were true all along? What if Dwarka wasn't a myth but a memory, passed down through generations, wrapped in poetry and prayer until science finally caught up? If Dwarka was real, who built it? And why did it fall? Was it lost to rising tides, a cataclysmic flood, or did something else erase it? The city beneath the sea remains silent. But when the waters calm and the divers return, perhaps one day Dwarka will speak again. Until then, it waits, buried in the waves and wrapped in legend. Just off the coast of Laconia in southern Greece, beneath the gentle waves of the Aegean Sea, lies a city frozen in time. It doesn't rise in ruins or crumble beneath thick jungle. It rests in plain sight on the seabed, undisturbed for over 5,000 years. This is Pavlopetri, the oldest known submerged city in the world. Discovered in 1967 and later mapped in detail using underwater robotics, Pavlopetri is more than a pile of ancient stone. It's a full city layout, almost perfectly preserved. Streets, houses, courtyards, even what appear to be sewage and water systems, all still visible beneath the clear, shallow waters. This isn't a myth or a mystery cloaked in legend. Pavlopetri is real, a city once alive with people, trade, and life during the Bronze Age. And yet, it remains shrouded in questions. Who lived here? Why was it built so close to the water? And more importantly, what caused it to sink? Some believe it was an earthquake or a series of sudden tectonic shifts that dropped the land into the sea. Others point to gradual erosion or rising sea levels following the last ice age. Whatever the cause, Pavlopetri disappeared from the surface but remained eerily intact, like a message sealed in a bottle and left on the seafloor. And here's where the mystery begins to deepen. There are structures in Pavlopetri that don't quite align with what we know about early Bronze Age civilizations. The sophistication of the city planning, wide roads, multi-roomed homes, and public spaces suggests a level of societal organization far ahead of its time. Some researchers even believe Pavlopetri could be older than we think, perhaps 6,000 years or more, pushing its origins into a time where mainstream history tells us large-scale cities didn't yet exist. If that's true, Pavlopetri isn't just a lost city. It's evidence that early European civilizations were far more advanced than textbooks suggest. And yet, very few people know this place exists. It's not in most school books or documentaries. There's no epic myth attached to it, just stone, silence, and questions. Pavlopetri rests peacefully under the sunlit waves, untouched by modern life. But it may hold answers to a forgotten chapter in Europe's ancient past, a story still waiting to surface. In the year 2001, off the western coast of Cuba, a team of marine researchers was conducting a sonar survey of the ocean floor. They expected to find trenches, shipwrecks, maybe some rock formations. But what they discovered was something no one could explain. At a depth of nearly 2,000 feet, the sonar images revealed massive stone structures, geometric shapes resembling pyramids, straight lines that looked like avenues, and symmetrical patterns that echoed city planning. The team was stunned. The site covered nearly 20 square kilometers, and the shapes didn't seem natural. They appeared built, large blocks, some stacked on top of one another, others aligned in grids like the ruins of a lost metropolis. Structures that, if above water, would look like ziggurats, plazas, and monumental platforms. And yet, they were lying silently beneath the sea, hidden in the darkness. Researchers called it the Cuban underwater city, though no one knows if it was ever truly a city. What they do know is this: if these formations were man-made, they had to be built more than 10,000 years ago, long before any known civilization existed in the Caribbean or anywhere else. That would place their origin before the last ice age, at a time when much of the world's water was locked in glaciers and sea levels were drastically lower. But this is where the mystery takes a strange turn. After initial media buzz and public curiosity, the site was never explored again in depth. No diving expeditions, no further research. Cuban and international authorities went silent. Some suspect political red tape. Others whisper about cover-ups or fears that the discovery would challenge historical timelines too dramatically. And so, the ruins remain unexplored. Were they created by a lost civilization, a people erased by rising tides, or global cataclysm? Or are they simply bizarre formations created by underwater geology and coincidence? We don't know. We may never know. Because whatever lies beneath those waves has been forgotten, either by time or by choice. The Cuban underwater city is not a legend from ancient texts. It wasn't foretold in myth. It appeared out of nowhere, captured only in sonar echoes and fragments of grainy footage, and there it sleeps still at the edge of memory and just beyond reach. In the warm turquoise waters of the Bahamas, just off the coast of Bimini Island, lies a curious formation resting under only 15 feet of water. Known today as the Bimini Road, it's a stretch of massive limestone blocks laid out in a near-perfect linear path, running for about half a mile beneath the sea. To the average swimmer, it might seem like a strange pattern of rocks. But to archaeologists and explorers, it's a puzzle that has remained unsolved for decades. The Bimini Road was first photographed in 1968, a time when excitement over the mythical city of Atlantis was at an all-time high. And for some, this strange underwater path seemed like the very proof they'd been waiting for. Each stone in the formation is enormous, many weighing several tons, and they are arranged with curious precision. Side by side, almost interlocking, they form a continuous curved line. Some believe this road once led to a harbor or was part of a much larger sunken city that may still lie hidden nearby. But is it truly man-made? That question has sparked heated debate for over half a century. Mainstream geologists argue that the Bimini Road is a natural formation, the result of a rare but explainable process called beach rock fracturing. They claim that over thousands of years, sand and sediment solidified into stone and cracked into large flat blocks, coincidentally forming something that looks intentional. But critics say the stones are too uniform, the path too clean, and the layout too symmetrical to be the work of nature alone. Some divers have even claimed to find additional structures nearby, pillars, walls, and corners buried under sand. But no formal excavation has taken place. No conclusive evidence has been brought forward. And so, the mystery lingers. Was the Bimini Road part of an ancient civilization now lost beneath the ocean? Could it be a surviving fragment of Atlantis, long rumored to have sunk in this very region? Or is it simply nature playing tricks on our imaginations? The truth is still submerged, just beneath the surface. And as the tides wash gently over the limestone blocks, they seem to whisper the same silent question. What else lies hidden beneath the sea? Just off the coast of Kingston, Jamaica, beneath the blue waters of the Caribbean, lies a city that once thrived with chaos, wealth, and vice. This is Port Royal, a place once known as the wickedest city on earth. In the 1600s, Port Royal was the beating heart of the Caribbean, a bustling hub for merchants, pirates, and privateers. Gold flowed freely, taverns never closed, and its streets echoed with drunken laughter and whispered deals. It was a pirate's paradise and a moralist's nightmare. But on the morning of June 7th, 1692, everything changed. Without warning, the ground began to shake violently. A powerful earthquake struck the island, shattering buildings and cracking the land beneath the city. Within minutes, much of Port Royal was swallowed by the sea. Entire streets, homes, and marketplaces sank into the sand as liquefaction, a rare but deadly geological phenomenon, turned the solid ground to liquid. Waves surged inward, finishing what the earth had started. Over 2,000 people were lost. In just moments, the proudest city in the West Indies had become a sunken ghost town. Today, the ruins of Port Royal lie submerged beneath only 40 feet of water, remarkably well preserved with buildings still intact, artifacts undisturbed, and the eerie outlines of a once vibrant life resting quietly in the sand. Divers have explored it. Archaeologists have mapped it. They've found pewter plates still set on tables, pocket watches still ticking, wine bottles sealed with their original contents. It's like time paused underwater. Some believe the disaster was more than a natural catastrophe. To many in the 17th century, it was seen as divine punishment, a biblical reckoning for the city's unchecked sin, greed, and debauchery. But even today, Port Royal refuses to stay quiet. Occasional tremors still rattle the region, and as development projects consider rebuilding parts of the area, many locals whisper warnings. They say the city below should remain undisturbed, left to sleep beneath the waves, where it was buried by fate or something greater. Whether you see Port Royal as a cautionary tale or a preserved time capsule of pirate history, one thing is certain. It didn't just sink, it was swallowed. And down there, the ghosts of the wicked city still wait, under sand, stone, and sea. Along the Mediterranean coast of Israel, just off the quiet shores of the ancient town of Atlit, lies a mystery that has been hidden beneath the waves for thousands of years. It's called Atlit Yam, a submerged Neolithic village that predates the pyramids by over 4,000 years. Resting under just 10 meters of water, Atlit Yam was first discovered by marine archaeologists in the 1980s. At first, they found scattered stones. But as the seabed was cleared, an entire settlement began to emerge, one that had been untouched for nearly 9,000 years. They found stone-built houses, fireplaces, tools, and bones. Wells carved from solid rock. The skeletons of humans, adults and children lying side by side. One woman was found still cradling her infant, frozen in time. But the most striking feature was the stone circle. 7 large stones, each weighing nearly a ton, had been deliberately placed in a circle around a freshwater spring. Some were engraved with symbols, others stood upright like ancient markers. To this day, no one knows what the circle was used for. A ritual site? A sacred meeting ground? Perhaps something we can no longer understand? What's even more puzzling is how advanced the people of Atlit Yam were. The village had signs of organized agriculture, animal domestication, and even evidence of early medical practices, including a skeleton showing the first known case of tuberculosis. This wasn't a primitive society. This was a community with beliefs, systems, and knowledge, thriving long before the civilizations we usually credit with the birth of culture. So why did they disappear? Some scientists believe a tsunami, triggered by a massive volcanic eruption in the Mediterranean, swept through the village and buried it beneath the sea. Others think it was the slow rise in sea levels at the end of the Ice Age that finally drowned the settlement. Whatever the reason, Atlit Yam vanished. And with it, a whole chapter of human history. Today, it lies in calm, shallow waters, preserved almost perfectly by time and silt. Silent, ancient, watching. A village that once sang with voices, now whispers through stone. And if you ever dive there, you might feel it. That subtle pull of a place that once was. A world before written history, still waiting to be remembered. Just beneath the calm waters of the Bay of Naples, off the coast of Italy, lies a city unlike any other. A place of luxury, scandal, and secrets. A place once called the Las Vegas of ancient Rome. This is Baiae, a Roman city now submerged, resting beneath the waves, as opulent in ruin as it was in life. At its peak, Baiae was the ultimate retreat for Rome's wealthiest and most powerful. Emperors built palaces here. Generals constructed private spas. Poets and philosophers came to relax in its steamy volcanic hot springs, believing they had healing powers. It was a city of marble walkways, glittering villas, and endless indulgence. But beneath its glamour, Baiae had a darker reputation. Whispers of secret affairs, political conspiracies, and even assassinations echoed through its corridors. It was said that what happened in Baiae stayed in Baiae. Roman historian Seneca once called it a resort of vice, where the elite escaped not just responsibility, but morality. Then, slowly and quietly, the city began to disappear. Not by war or fire, but by nature itself. Over the centuries, volcanic activity beneath the surface caused the ground to sink, a phenomenon known as bradycism. As the land descended, the sea crept in, swallowing streets, villas, and temples. What once stood on marble hills now rests beneath turquoise waves. Today, Baiai is one of the world's most extraordinary underwater archaeological sites. Divers glide through mosaic-floored courtyards. Statues of Roman gods still stand, waist deep in water. Roads and archways remain intact, leading nowhere and everywhere at once. In some spots, ancient frescoes are still visible, faded but proud, like ghosts etched in stone. It's as if the city refused to die, choosing instead to sleep beneath the sea. And yet, Baiai continues to speak. New discoveries are still being made. Hidden rooms, untouched treasures, forgotten corners of imperial luxury. Historians believe only a fraction of the sunken city has been explored. So what else lies beneath? What secrets from Rome's most hedonistic haven are still buried under sand and silence? One thing is certain. Baiai was no ordinary city, and even now, underwater and abandoned, it remains exactly what it always was, a place of beauty, mystery, and decadence frozen in time. Hidden beneath the still waters of Jiandao Lake, in eastern China's Zhejiang province, rests a city no one expected to find. Grand archways, towering walls, temples, roads, and houses, all untouched by time. They call it Lion City, or Shicheng, and it is often referred to as China's Atlantis. But unlike Atlantis, Lion City was never lost to myth. Its submersion wasn't the result of a sudden disaster or ancient cataclysm. It was intentional and surprisingly recent. In 1959, as part of a government project to create a hydroelectric dam, the valley where Lion City stood was deliberately flooded. More than 300,000 people were relocated. The waters rose, villages vanished, and so did the city. What officials didn't realize at the time was that they had drowned a living museum. Founded during the Eastern Han Dynasty, over 1,300 years ago, Lion City was once a thriving political and cultural center. With grand stone architecture, elaborate carvings, and intricate gates adorned with mythological beasts, it stood as a symbol of regional pride and prosperity. When divers first explored the lake's depths decades later, they expected to find rubble. Instead, they found a perfectly preserved city. Its walls still stand, roof tiles remain in place. Doors, windows, and staircases appear just as they were the day the water rose. Even the delicate stone carvings, dragons, phoenixes, and guardian lions still watch silently in the dark, their expressions eerily intact. Because of the lake's cold, fresh water and lack of sunlight, the city has been shielded from decay, creating a surreal time capsule unlike anything else in the world. Swimming through its streets is like stepping back in time. But the mystery isn't just in its preservation, it's in its silence. How many more ancient treasures lie hidden beneath modern lakes and rivers? How many were buried, not by accident or disaster, but by progress? Lion City sleeps quietly beneath the surface, visited now only by the occasional diver or submarine. Its buildings are whole, its spirit strangely alive, a forgotten city, not lost, but submerged, not destroyed, but hidden. And as the water above remains still, one can only imagine what stories echo through its silent underwater holes. In the far eastern highlands of Turkey, nestled among ancient mountains and snow-dusted peaks, lies Lake Van, a vast salty lake that has quietly held onto one of archaeology's most unexpected secrets. Beneath its icy blue surface, divers discovered the ruins of a massive stone fortress, one that had been hidden underwater for thousands of years. The structure, believed to be over 3,000 years old, was found in 2017 by a team of Turkish researchers. Stretching across a kilometer, the fortress walls rise nearly 13 feet high in places, still intact, still standing, as if time itself had forgotten to tear them down. But who built this underwater stronghold? And why is it submerged? Many experts believe the ruins belong to the Urartian kingdom, a mysterious civilization that once ruled this region between the 9th and 6th centuries BCE. The Urartians were known for their advanced engineering, massive fortresses, and mountainous strongholds, yet so little of their legacy remains today. Until now. Lake Van was once smaller, its shores farther out. Over centuries, as water levels rose and settlements fell, the lake quietly swallowed pieces of Urartian history, burying them beneath waves and preserving them in silence. The stones used in the fortress walls are cyclopean, huge blocks placed together without mortar. They form clean, precise lines, as if laid yesterday. Some walls are still crowned with decorative carvings, now worn by water and time. It's not just a wall, it's a forgotten city boundary, one that once protected a thriving people. What makes the discovery even more intriguing is how little we know about the Urartians themselves. Their language is only partially deciphered, their disappearance sudden and unexplained, their secrets mostly gone. And yet, here, beneath Lake Van, they speak again. No myths foretold its presence, no ancient text hinted at its location. The fortress simply sat beneath the waves, patient and undisturbed, until modern eyes finally looked down and saw the past staring back. There may be more ruins, deeper and farther, waiting still. Some believe entire settlements may rest along the sunken lake bed, untouched for millennia. One thing is certain, the fortress of Lake Van is more than stone. It is a message, a monument, a ghost of a kingdom that time tried to erase, but failed. Just off the coast of modern-day Alexandria, Egypt, where the warm waves of the Mediterranean lap against the shore, lies a royal city once teeming with power, beauty, and ambition. Beneath those waters, hidden for over 1,600 years, are the remains of Cleopatra's palace, a sunken world that once ruled the eastern Mediterranean. In ancient times, Alexandria was the jewel of Egypt. Founded by Alexander the Great, it became a hub of knowledge, trade, and grandeur. At its heart was the royal quarter, where Queen Cleopatra VII, Egypt's last pharaoh, held her court. Lavish palaces, towering obelisks, and glittering temples once lined the shores. But then came the sea. A series of devastating earthquakes and tsunamis struck between the 4th and 8th centuries AD. The earth split, the coastline sank, and much of ancient Alexandria, including Cleopatra's palace, was pulled beneath the waves. For centuries, the ruins were forgotten, buried beneath sand and salt, until divers, guided by sonar and ancient maps, began to uncover the truth. Beneath the bay now lie colossal statues, toppled columns, paved streets, and sphinxes once thought lost to time. The outlines of the royal harbour are still visible. Temples dedicated to Isis and other Egyptian deities rest silently in the gloom. Some believe that Cleopatra and her lover, Mark Antony, were buried in a mausoleum in this sunken quarter, though their final resting place has never been found. What's haunting is how alive it all still feels. Bronze coins, jewelry, and ceremonial vessels have been recovered, perfectly preserved in the soft, silty bed. Each artifact is a whisper from a world that ruled with splendor and fell with silence. And though Alexandria above the sea thrives today, the city beneath it tells a different story, a quieter one, about glory swallowed by the ocean and legacies left to sleep underwater. The sunken palace is more than a ruin. It's a window into a time of legendary rulers, shifting empires, and tragic ends. And when the waters are calm and the divers descend, they glide through the last corridors of a world Cleopatra once called home. A world history tried to bury. But the sea remembered. Before Alexandria ruled the Nile Delta, before Cleopatra's court rose to power, there was another city, older, forgotten, and for centuries thought to be a legend. Its name was Thonis-Heracleion. Long ago, it was Egypt's gateway to the Mediterranean, a wealthy, vibrant port city bustling with merchants, priests, and foreign ambassadors. It thrived for centuries, serving as a critical link between ancient Egypt and the wider world. Then, it vanished. For over 1,000 years, Thonis-Heracleion was lost to memory. Mentioned only in passing by Greek historians like Herodotus, it became a story, a myth, a name whispered among scholars. That is, until the early 2000s, when marine archaeologist Frank Godio made an extraordinary discovery beneath the murky waters off the coast of Abu Qir Bay, near modern-day Alexandria. Submerged beneath layers of sediment and silt, an entire city began to emerge. Massive stone statues, some standing over 16 feet tall, lay toppled but intact. Temple ruins, ceremonial docks, canals, and stone inscriptions in both Greek and Egyptian revealed a multicultural hub that had been hidden for over a millennium. They even found a giant black granite stele etched in ancient script confirming the city's name. Thonis to the Egyptians, Heracleion to the Greeks. Historians now believe the city sank sometime in the 2nd century BC, likely due to a combination of earthquakes, soil liquefaction, and rising sea levels. As the ground gave way, buildings collapsed, and the sea swallowed it whole. But what's truly captivating is the scale. Thonis-Heracleion wasn't a small settlement. It was a sprawling metropolis, filled with sanctuaries, harbors, and a grand temple dedicated to the god Amun-Gereb. It was a place where ancient cultures met, exchanged, and worshipped. A bridge between worlds. And for all the ruins discovered, much of the city is still buried. Each year, divers uncover new statues, gold coins, and forgotten shrines, slowly piecing together the life of a city that history tried to erase. Thonis-Heracleion is no longer a myth. It is real, and it is rising again, from beneath the sands of the sea, one artifact at a time. A lost capital of gods and men, whose voice still echoes through the tides. On the eastern edge of the Black Sea, near the Taman Peninsula in modern-day Russia, lies one of the greatest archaeological secrets of Eastern Europe. A once mighty Greek city, long lost beneath layers of soil, and part of it beneath the waves. Its name is Phanagoria. Founded in the 6th century BCE by Ionian Greeks fleeing the fall of Teos, Phanagoria became one of the richest and most powerful cities in the ancient Bosporan kingdom. It was a center of trade, art, and politics, a place where cultures collided, where East met West, and where knowledge flowed across sea routes. But today, much of it is underwater. Over centuries, earthquakes, invasions, and natural shifts caused portions of the city to slip beneath the Black Sea. For a long time, no one knew the full extent of what had been lost. It was only in recent decades that archaeologists began to uncover the truth. Beneath the surface rests a network of ancient ruins, temples, docks, and streets, still largely intact. Divers exploring the sunken parts of Phanagoria have found columns, amphorae, and stretches of pavement that once echoed with footsteps of merchants and philosophers. Above water, over 700 acres of ruins continue to be excavated. But it's the submerged sector that holds a quiet, haunting fascination. Among the most chilling finds was a stone tomb believed to belong to a royal member of the Bosporan elite. Near it, researchers discovered a massive marble base inscribed with Greek writing, possibly a tribute to Aphrodite, or a lost deity whose worship has been forgotten. Phanagoria also played a key role in the early spread of Christianity. Some believe it was one of the first places where Christian communities took root along the Black Sea, perhaps even the site where St. Andrew once preached. And yet, outside of archaeology circles, few people know this place exists. It's not the subject of legends or tourist postcards. It simply sleeps, half on land, half underwater, slowly releasing its secrets as time allows. Phanagoria reminds us that even the greatest cities can vanish, not into myth, but into mud, into silt, and into the cold stillness of forgotten waters. And sometimes all it takes to hear their stories is to listen beneath the waves. Beneath the cold grey waters of the North Sea, between Britain and mainland Europe, lies the ghost of a forgotten world, a land that once connected countries, teeming with life, people, and stories that predate written history. This was Doggerland, Europe's Atlantis. Thousands of years ago, during the last ice age, sea levels were much lower. What we now know as the North Sea was once a vast fertile plain stretching from the east coast of Britain to the Netherlands, Denmark, and beyond. Rivers flowed through the land. Forests, lakes, and marshes covered the landscape. It was home to Mesolithic hunter-gatherers, animals like mammoths, aurochs, and even lions. And then it disappeared. As the ice caps melted, sea levels rose. Slowly at first, then suddenly. Around 8,000 years ago, a catastrophic event known as the Storegga Slide, an enormous underwater landslide off the coast of Norway, triggered a massive tsunami that flooded the low-lying Doggerland in a matter of hours. Over time, the waves never receded. The land drowned. Today, Doggerland rests quietly beneath the seabed. But the silence is deceptive. Fishermen occasionally dredge up strange things from the deep. Stone tools, bones of prehistoric animals, and even fragments of human skulls. These aren't relics from the sea. They are remnants of villages, camps, and lives once lived on solid ground. In recent years, advanced sonar and satellite mapping have revealed ancient river valleys and buried coastlines beneath the North Sea. There is even growing speculation that entire settlements, complete with hearths, shelters, and burial sites, remain hidden, perfectly preserved beneath the mud. But Doggerland holds more than archaeology. It challenges the way we think about the past. We often believe the sea divides us. But here was a time when it united us. When you could walk from Britain to Germany, from Denmark to France, across land that no longer exists. A world erased not by war or myth, but by water. And beneath the rolling waves and shifting sands, the story of Doggerland still lingers, an ancient whisper trapped beneath the tides. A lost land of people and memory, now sleeping at the bottom of the sea. On the northeastern coast of Tunisia, not far from the modern town of Nabil, lies the silent footprint of a Roman city that once bustled with life, trade, and the salty scent of the sea. This is Neapolis, a forgotten city that was suddenly and violently buried beneath the Mediterranean nearly 2,000 years ago. For centuries, Neapolis was little more than a name in old Roman documents. Historians debated its size, its importance, and even its location. But the sea had swallowed its ruins, leaving only silence in its place. That silence was broken in 2017 when a team of underwater archaeologists finally found the sunken remains. Beneath the waves, they discovered streets, walls, and storehouses, remarkably well preserved beneath layers of sand. Entire neighborhoods lay submerged, frozen in time. One of the most astonishing finds? Vast vats used for the production of garum, a fermented fish sauce that was one of the Roman world's most sought-after delicacies. In fact, this discovery rewrote what we thought we knew about the ancient trade network. It turns out Neapolis was one of the largest garum production centers in the Roman Empire, exporting the sauce across the Mediterranean. But then, in the year 365 AD, disaster struck. A massive earthquake, followed by a tsunami believed to have originated near Crete, crashed into the North African coast. The sea roared inward. Cities along the shoreline were devastated. And Neapolis, sitting so close to the water, was lost. The earthquake not only destroyed the city, but submerged much of it, hiding it beneath the sea for more than 1,600 years. Today, the ruins of Neapolis still sleep under shallow waters. Divers can swim over ancient stone roads, past the open mouths of garum vats, and between crumbled columns that once lined city squares. There are no legends about Neapolis, no myths to romanticize its fall, only real history buried by the sea and slowly coming to light. It's a reminder that even the most thriving cities can vanish in a single day, and that beneath calm waters, entire worlds can wait, forgotten by time until we remember to look. On the southeastern coast of India, where the Bay of Bengal meets the ancient city of Mahabalipuram, stone temples rise dramatically from the shore, weathered, beautiful, and oddly incomplete. local legend tells of 7 temples, so magnificent that the gods themselves grew jealous. And in their wrath, they sent a great flood to consume all but one. The only temple left standing today is the Shore Temple, a striking granite structure built in the 8th century during the Pallava dynasty. For centuries, the other 6 temples were said to be myth, folklore passed down by generations, stories whispered by fishermen and kept alive by the salty wind. But then came the Indian Ocean tsunami of 2004. As the water receded briefly before the waves struck, beachgoers and locals reported something astonishing. Stone structures, long buried beneath sand and sea, were suddenly exposed. Massive granite blocks, carvings of animals, ancient steps leading into nowhere. Some who saw them swore they looked like temple walls, freshly revealed after centuries in hiding. In the months that followed, archaeologists launched underwater surveys, and to their surprise, they confirmed the presence of submerged temple foundations just off the coast, right where the legends had said they'd be. Not one, but multiple submerged structures lie beneath the shallow water, partially preserved, partially lost to erosion. Carvings of lions and elephants still cling to the stones, whispering of an age when this coastline held something far grander. It seems the old tales were rooted in truth. No one knows exactly how or when the temples were lost, perhaps a tsunami, perhaps rising sea levels over centuries, but their story had not been erased. It had merely been buried. Mahabalipuram's submerged temples remain difficult to access, explored only by a few divers and researchers. But the discovery gave new weight to local lore, and new life to the belief that history sometimes survives, not in books, but in memory. So next time the sea pulls back from the shore, even for just a moment, look closely, because somewhere between the waves and the sand, the gods may have left a temple behind. Off the rugged coast of North Wales, where the Irish Sea crashes against ancient cliffs, there's a legend as old as the rocks themselves. A tale of a vanished palace, swallowed by the sea on a stormy night. They call it Lys Helig, the lost court of a Welsh prince. According to legend, Prince Helig ap Glanaog ruled a prosperous kingdom along the coast. His stone hall, Lys Helig, stood tall overlooking the sea, filled with music, feasts, and the warmth of family. But hubris and pride led to his downfall. One night, the ocean rose without warning, and the entire kingdom was consumed by the waves. The prince and his court were never seen again. For generations, this was thought to be a fable, a cautionary tale passed down through fireside stories. But then, fishermen began reporting strange things. Beneath the low tide, they claimed to see stone walls and paved causeways stretching into the sea near Conwy Bay. Some even swore they heard faint bells ringing beneath the water, like church chimes from a world long gone. In the early 20th century, local divers discovered what appeared to be submerged stone structures beneath the waves, rectangular formations, walls, and stacked stones aligned too neatly to be random. Some researchers argued it could be the ruins of ancient sea defenses. Others believed it might be the very court of Prince Helig himself. Still, no full excavation has been done. The sea here is wild, and the current strong. The evidence remains elusive, just out of reach, like a memory fading in the mist. But the locals have never doubted it. In their minds, Lys Helig is real. They say that on certain nights when the tide is low and the air is still, you can walk along the shore and hear the whisper of the lost court, the laughter of nobles, the ringing of silver cups, the final gasp of a kingdom taken by the sea. Is it just a legend? Or did a real kingdom once stand where now only waves roll and seabirds cry? Lys Helig remains a beautiful mystery, half history, half myth. A Welsh Atlantis that sleeps beneath the tide, wrapped in silence and salt. High in the Andes Mountains, straddling the border of Bolivia and Peru, lies a lake so vast, so still, and so sacred, it has been revered by civilizations for millennia. This is Lake Titicaca, the highest navigable lake in the world, and, according to Andean legend, the birthplace of the sun, the moon, and the very first humans. But below its tranquil surface, something ancient lies hidden. Temples, roads, and stone platforms, built long before the Inca by a civilization that disappeared into the folds of time. In the year 2000, a team of archaeologists and divers made a stunning discovery: the submerged ruins of a 1,500-year-old temple complex beneath the lake's southern edge. Covering over 2,000 meters, the site included a large stone temple, a ceremonial terrace, and a long man-made causeway leading deep into the lake. The scale and symmetry of the site suggested it was not just a village, but a sacred center of worship, perhaps dedicated to Viracocha, the Andean creator god, said to have risen from these very waters. Locals had always believed something rested beneath the lake. For generations, indigenous people told stories of ancient cities drowned by the gods and of offerings made to the spirits below. Even today, ceremonial dives still take place, where divers leave gifts of gold, ceramics, and llama fetuses for the deities said to dwell in the deep. But no one expected to find actual stone temples hidden in the cold silence 60 feet below. The builders were likely members of the Tiwanaku culture, a highly advanced pre-Incan civilization that flourished around Lake Titicaca long before the rise of Machu Picchu. Known for their astronomical knowledge and megalithic stonework, the Tiwanaku left behind few written records, but many mysteries. Why build a temple beneath the water? Or was the temple once on dry land, swallowed slowly as the lake expanded over centuries? No one knows for sure. What we do know is this: beneath the shimmering surface of Lake Titicaca, a forgotten temple sleeps, a sacred monument that echoes the myths it inspired, and every ripple on the water may be the breath of God still watching from below. Just east of Alexandria, beneath the shallow, murky waters of Abu Qir Bay, rests another of Egypt's lost treasures, a city once revered, then forgotten, and now slowly reawakening beneath the sea. This is Canopus, a place where gods were worshipped, pilgrims traveled, and mystery flourished under a sky of incense and stars. Once a thriving port city during the Greek and Roman periods, Canopus was known across the ancient world for its lavish temples and healing sanctuaries. The city was dedicated to the god Serapis, a powerful fusion of Egyptian and Greek deities, created to unite two cultures in one divine figure. People came from far and wide, seeking healing, visions, or simply the thrill of stepping into a place touched by both myth and medicine. But the glory of Canopus didn't last. Over time, a combination of natural disasters, earthquakes, floods, and coastal erosion caused much of the Nile Delta to shift. Entire portions of land sank beneath the Mediterranean, and with them, Canopus vanished beneath the waves. For centuries, it was thought to be lost forever, its exact location uncertain, its story buried in fragments. Then, in the early 2000s, marine archaeologists made a breathtaking discovery. Just offshore, under layers of mud and water, the city began to reveal itself. Temples, columns, statues, and ritual basins lay preserved in the seabed. Enormous granite sarcophagi, some weighing over 10 tons, rested where priests once walked. Stone inscriptions confirmed what many had hoped. They had found Canopus. What's most fascinating is how intact the city is. Divers have found intricate statues of gods, offering tables, and even evidence of underground chambers, still sealed beneath the sand. It is believed that Canopus and its neighboring sunken cities, like Thonis-Heracleion, were once part of a connected spiritual complex, forming a holy triangle of ritual and reverence along Egypt's northern coast. Today, Canopus lies in quiet slumber beneath the tides. But as research continues, more of its story rises from the deep, a reminder of how easily even the grandest cities can slip beneath the surface of time. And as the light filters down through the silted water, it touches the face of Serapis once more, a god who was buried but not forgotten. Off the western coast of India, where the Narmada River meets the Arabian Sea, lies a patch of ocean few would look at twice. Murky, churning, and silt-heavy, the Gulf of Kambat is not the kind of place where secrets are easily kept or easily found. But in 2001, that changed. While conducting routine sonar scans of the seafloor, the National Institute of Ocean Technology made a discovery that stunned even the most skeptical scientists. An enormous grid-like structure, nearly 40 meters below the surface, stretching across several kilometers of the seabed. The sonar images revealed something uncanny. Rows of straight lines, rectangular shapes, what appeared to be the outlines of streets, buildings, and plazas. An ancient cityscape, in a place where no city was ever supposed to exist. Divers couldn't explore the site directly due to dangerous currents and near-zero visibility. But dredging operations recovered carved artifacts, tools, pottery fragments, and even fossilized bones. Then came the real shock. Carbon dating suggested some of these artifacts were as much as 9,500 years old. If accurate, that would make this city older than Mesopotamia, older than the Indus Valley, even older than the pyramids of Egypt. A civilization advanced enough to construct an organized city and then vanish, long before written history began. But instead of celebrating, the discovery quickly vanished from headlines. Critics claimed the sonar images could be natural, that the artifacts might have drifted from other regions. No follow-up dives were publicly conducted, no documentaries were made. The site, like the city it may conceal, began to fade quietly into obscurity. And yet the questions remain. If an ancient city lies beneath the Gulf of Kambat, who built it? What kind of people lived there? And how did they master engineering at a time when the rest of the world was still living in scattered tribes? And why did the discovery receive so little attention? Perhaps the answers lie beneath the sediment, still waiting for the tides of truth to change. For now, the Gulf of Kambat remains a blank spot on the map, a stretch of water that guards one of the oldest and most inconvenient mysteries in human history, a city that shouldn't exist, but just might. In the icy depths of the Baltic Sea between Sweden and Finland lies a formation that has baffled scientists, divers, and conspiracy theorists alike. It's called the Baltic Sea Anomaly, and no one can agree on what it truly is. Discovered in 2011 by a team of Swedish treasure hunters known as Ocean X, the anomaly appeared on sonar as a massive circular object, nearly 200 feet wide, sitting 300 feet below the surface. What caught their attention wasn't just its sheer size, but its shape. Perfectly rounded, rigid edges, a central dome, and what looked like staircases or ramps leading up the sides. Some described it as resembling the Millennium Falcon from Star Wars. Others thought it looked like a crashed spacecraft. But the deeper mystery, no one had ever seen anything like it in the region before. Initial dives to the site revealed a strange texture, burned or scorched stone, unusual patterns, and a lack of marine life nearby. The team also claimed that their electronic equipment malfunctioned near the object. Sonar, cameras, and lights flickered or died when they got too close. Naturally, speculation exploded. Some suggested it was the wreckage of a long-lost Nazi anti-gravity device. Others believed it could be an ancient pre-Ice Age structure, like a submerged fortress or outpost built by a forgotten civilization. A few went further, calling it extraterrestrial. But mainstream scientists pushed back. Many experts believe the anomaly is most likely a natural rock formation, created by glaciers during the last ice age. The circular shape, they say, is coincidental. The textures? Erosion and sediment. The equipment failures, probably technical glitches, and yet the anomaly remains largely unexplored. Poor visibility, freezing waters, and limited funding have kept the mystery intact. Only a handful of photos and sonar scans exist. No full excavation, no definitive answer. So it sits there, silent and motionless, beneath layers of cold, dark water. Is it an ancient monument, a relic from a lost time, or just a rock shaped by nature and magnified by our imagination? No one knows for sure. But deep in the Baltic, something waits. And until we return, it remains one of the strangest underwater mysteries of our time. Along the rugged Mediterranean coast of Libya, beneath the waves near the city of Susa, lie the quiet remains of a once prosperous Greco-Roman port. This is Apollonia, a city built to connect the powerful kingdom of Cyrenaica to the wider ancient world. It was a place where ships from Greece, Egypt, and the Roman Empire docked, unloaded goods, and carried stories from faraway lands. And now, much of it sleeps underwater. Founded in the 7th century BCE, Apollonia began as the harbour city for the inland metropolis of Cyrene, one of the most prominent Greek colonies in North Africa. Over time, it grew in power and prestige, eventually becoming a cultural and administrative centre in its own right. But the sea was always at its doorstep. Historians believe that earthquakes, coupled with gradual coastal subsidence, eventually caused parts of the city to sink into the sea. The process was slow, but relentless. Little by little, homes, temples, markets, and streets slipped beneath the waves until only the upper portions of the city remained above water. Today, half of Apollonia is submerged. Divers who venture into its depths find remarkably well-preserved ruins. Marble columns, paved roads, and archways lie in shallow waters, visible even from the surface on a clear day. Statues of long-forgotten deities rest on the seabed, their faces eroded by salt and time, but still noble. Inscriptions in Greek and Latin tell of trade agreements, civic laws, and dedications to the gods. Pieces of amphorae, clay vessels once filled with olive oil, wine, or grain, are scattered like breadcrumbs from a world long past. Above water, the land portion of Apollonia still boasts theatres, bathhouses, and ancient villas, making it one of Libya's most striking archaeological sites. But it's the half beneath the waves that stirs the imagination. Why did no one rebuild it? Why did it vanish from history's spotlight? Perhaps the answer lies in its silent dignity. Apollonia didn't fall to war or fire. It simply receded into the sea, leaving behind stone and memory, and now it rests peacefully in the shallows, touched only by sunlight and the slow rhythm of the tide. A city not lost, just quietly forgotten. Nestled among the quiet hills of southern Wisconsin, the tranquil waters of Rock Lake seem ordinary, calm, reflective, and serene. But beneath that still surface lies a mystery that has stirred whispers for over a century. A submerged pyramid-like structure, built by unknown hands, long before modern history reached the region. Locals call it the Rock Lake Pyramid, or sometimes Tiranena, a name rooted in Native American legend. According to early tales from the Ho-Chunk and other indigenous peoples, strange stone formations rested on the lake bottom, shaped like mounds, roads, even temples. Some stories spoke of a sunken city, others of ceremonial sites now drowned. In the early 1900s, as water levels in the lake dropped, curious boaters reported seeing rectangular stone formations just beneath the surface. Some even claimed to spot what looked like steps, leading nowhere, vanishing into silt. It wasn't until the 1930s that divers finally investigated. What they found stunned them: large, symmetrical blocks of stone, aligned as if part of a larger structure. One area appeared to form a triangular mound, flat on top, like a small sunken pyramid. The structure became known as the Lake Mills Pyramid, and speculation ran wild. Could it be the work of the Aztlan people, linked to the nearby Aztlan State Park, home to ancient Mississippian mounds and earthen pyramids? Or perhaps an even older civilization, one erased by time and water? Skeptics argue it could be a natural glacial formation. Others suggest it was a failed 19th century dam project or a coincidental alignment of rocks, but divers who've explored the murky waters tell a different story. They speak of cut stone, of organized angles, of walls that rise and fall in patterns no glacier ever made. Visibility is poor, the silt thick, but what's been seen is enough to keep the mystery alive. No official excavation has ever been done. No definitive proof, but no explanation that quite satisfies either. So the pyramid remains, cloaked in algae and silence, resting just out of reach beneath the Wisconsin waters. A monument without a name, a temple without a prayer, and a mystery too strange to ignore, yet too quiet to answer. Off the northern coast of Israel, just south of the ancient port city of Haifa, divers have uncovered something that doesn't quite fit into the story we thought we knew. Beneath the shallow waters of Atlit Bay lies a massive underwater wall, built by hand thousands of years ago. It's not a building, not a temple, and not a city. It's a barrier stretching over 100 meters long, constructed of huge, carefully placed stones, each weighing hundreds of pounds. This megalithic wall wasn't for ceremony or worship. It was built with purpose. It was made to hold something back. And according to scientists, that something was the sea. The structure dates back to around 7000 BCE, during the Neolithic period, a time when humans were just beginning to settle into permanent communities, developing agriculture, and learning how to shape their world. But what's remarkable is not just how old the wall is, it's why it exists. Researchers believe this structure was an ancient seawall designed to protect a coastal village, possibly the nearby site of Atlit Yam, from rising tides and erosion. In other words, our ancestors may have been battling climate change and sea level rise over 9,000 years ago. They weren't primitive, they were adaptive, observant, building barriers with no concrete, no modern tools, just knowledge, will, and stone. But in the end, it wasn't enough. The sea rose anyway. The wall was eventually overtaken, and the settlements it once guarded were drowned, buried beneath waves and sand. And like so many ancient efforts, their work was forgotten until the modern world found it again. Today, the Atlit Bay megastructure rests silently beneath the waves, hidden in plain sight, visible only to those who know where to look. It stands not as a failure, but as a testament to resilience, ingenuity, and the timeless struggle between man and nature. What else have we forgotten? How many ancient voices tried to warn us of shifting tides and crumbling shores, and how many of their stories are still waiting just beneath the surface for someone to listen. The wall in Atlit Bay doesn't just divide land and sea. It bridges time and reminds us we've been here before. High in the hills of Yunnan province, China, there lies a lake steeped in silence and legend. Its waters are deep, calm, and often blanketed in a ghostly morning mist. This is Fuxian Lake, a place known for its beauty and for the ancient mystery that sleeps beneath its surface. For centuries, local folklore spoke of a lost city beneath the lake. A tale passed from mouth to mouth, whispered in fishing boats and village homes. Few believed it. Most thought it was just a story, a legend born from the fog that so often clings to the water's edge. But in 2001, that legend became reality. While surveying the lake with sonar, researchers discovered massive underwater structures resting 130 feet below the surface. Not rocks, not natural ridges, but walls, platforms, stair-like formations, and what appeared to be paved stone roads. Some blocks were enormous, weighing several tons, stacked with precision. It wasn't a natural formation, it was a city. Over 30 buildings were identified, scattered across an area of more than 2 square kilometers. Among them, a towering structure nearly 70 meters long, possibly a palace or temple. Some even claim a pyramid-shaped platform rests in the deepest section, eerily similar to those found in Mesoamerican ruins half a world away. What's most mysterious is the age. Many of the artifacts recovered suggest the structures could be over 2,000 years old, possibly older, predating any known major civilization in that region. Some scholars speculate it could be the remains of the legendary city of Yuyuan, said to have vanished without a trace. But how could such a vast city be forgotten? How could it vanish from history? There are no ancient records, no confirmed inscriptions, only the silent stone beneath the lake waiting to be read. Was it swallowed by an earthquake, abandoned and flooded by rising water? Or perhaps it was never meant to be found at all. Today, Fuxian Lake is still a destination for tourists and divers, but few realize what sleeps below: a forgotten city, a sunken world, a reminder that even when we think we've mapped the earth, the past has its own depths, and sometimes it watches us from just beneath the surface. In the remote wilderness of British Columbia, Canada, nestled between towering pine forests and snow-capped peaks, lies a quiet, mirror-like body of water called Lake MacDonald. Peaceful, undisturbed, timeless, but deep beneath its surface, divers have reported something strange, something geometric, something that doesn't quite belong in a glacial lake. They call it the stairs. Described as a series of perfectly formed rectangular steps, this formation rests along the lakebed like an underwater staircase. Clean edges, uniform spacing, and angles too precise to be dismissed as natural coincidence. Each step appears cut, not broken. Some rise like short walls, others flatten into platforms. To the untrained eye, they might seem like part of a long-forgotten dock, or the foundation of an ancient structure, now sunken and shrouded in algae. But here's the catch. There's no known civilization associated with Lake MacDonald. No record of ancient settlements, no ruins, no folklore. Nothing to suggest that human hands ever built anything here, let alone an underwater staircase. So what is it? Geologists suggest it could be a rare example of fractured limestone bedding, a natural process where rock layers crack and split into geometric forms over millennia. But divers and independent researchers argue the pattern is too deliberate, too intentional. And then there's the unsettling detail. Several divers have reported strange sensations near the site, disorientation, headaches, and an odd hum, as if the lake itself were vibrating just below the edge of hearing. Equipment malfunctions aren't uncommon either. Still, without formal study, the formation remains an enigma. Is it a natural phenomenon, a forgotten construction project? Or could it be the surviving trace of a people we've never identified, who built in stone, then disappeared without a footprint? With the lake's remote location and protected status, few have had the chance to explore the stairs in depth. But those who have seen it describe the experience the same way: unsettling, beautiful, and deeply, deeply quiet. It may be nothing more than a natural wonder, or it may be something else entirely, an ancient design hidden in the silence of a northern lake. And as the water grows still each evening, the stairs wait, rising, not toward the surface, but toward questions no one has yet answered. At the bottom of the world, beneath a vast sheet of ice stretching over 5 million square miles, lies a continent few have seen, and even fewer truly understand. Antarctica, frozen, desolate, untouched, or so we once believed. But in recent decades, satellite imagery and ground-penetrating radar have begun peeling back the icy curtain, revealing something hidden deep below. Not just mountains and lakes, but structures, patterns, anomalies that hint at a forgotten chapter of Earth's history buried beneath 2 miles of ice. One of the most talked about discoveries lies beneath the Wilkes Land crater, a circular formation more than 300 miles wide, hidden under Antarctica's eastern ice cap. Some scientists believe it could be the scar of a massive asteroid impact. Others are not so sure. Satellite scans in the region have picked up magnetic anomalies, intense energy fields, unusually symmetrical formations, and heat signatures that seem to defy natural explanation. Some researchers whisper of subterranean chambers and strange geometric patterns that don't match any known natural process. Could something man-made, or perhaps not entirely natural, lie beneath the ice? Conspiracy theories have flourished, linking the discoveries to ancient civilizations, Nazi expeditions, even extraterrestrial origins. Some point to ancient maps, like the Piri Reis chart from the 16th century, which appear to show the Antarctic coastline free of ice, despite the fact that it's been frozen for over 6,000 years. How could that be possible? Mainstream scientists remain cautious. They argue that most findings can be explained by geology, climate history, or glacial movements, but even they admit Antarctica is the least explored continent on Earth. Entire mountain ranges, river systems, and possible cave networks lie hidden beneath the ice, sealed off for tens of thousands of years. Could there have once been a thriving land here, now lost to time and frost? Was Antarctica always this cold, or did it once support life, culture, perhaps even a civilization? We don't know. What we do know is this: the ice is melting, slowly but surely. And with each passing year, more of Antarctica's buried past begins to stir. Whatever sleeps beneath the ice is still waiting. And someday, when the world is ready, it may finally wake up.